A few years ago, my wife and I were on the verge of divorce. And I learned some things through that, and I thought I might share them with you because now I'm happy. She says she's happy. And we're still married. But first, for a caveat, everyone's different. Every marriage is different. The things I have to share may or may not be appropriate for you or be beneficial. But at least it's my judgment that the things I might share with you will not hurt if they do not help. One of the first things that made a huge difference to me once the protection order or restraining order was set in place, and of course those are set in place regardless of the circumstances in my state, based, in my opinion, on a very just and reasonable expectation that if a woman feels that she is in danger, then that man needs to be put out of the house, even if nothing has been proved. Just because, if you wait until you've proved something against the husband, then you'll very likely have dead women lying around, if you understand my meaning. If you keep that man who is accused of abuse around the house, and he finds out that, and he's really an evil individual, and he finds out that there are charges pending against him, and he's still living in the house with that woman, then she's in great danger. So once the police came to my place of business and let me know that I would not be going home that day, I found someplace to live, and which I was kind of concerned about. But my first step, and I think the first step for any individual who takes that kind of spear through the ego, is I would call it respecting yourself. I would encourage individuals in that situation where their spouse has said that they don't want them around them, and this would be true if for anyone. Go wash your car, vacuum it on the inside. Get your hair cut. Get a hairstyle that you think is becoming. Find some clothes. If you can, buy some clothes that you think make you look nice. Respect yourself. Do good for yourself. You have just taken a big hit, and this is a fine time to drop some weight. During grief, during very heavy stress, many people are able to lose weight during that time. Exercise. This is important insofar as working off all of this grief that you're experiencing and all of the emotional difficulty you're experiencing. At least these are things that were helpful to me. Boy, I'll never forget. Buy some of those teeth whitener things for your teeth. Do things that make yourself feel good about yourself, and that for me was extremely helpful. In fact, I remember one of the main things, in my opinion, that was a turning point in our relationship. We went to the domestic court, and the judge found that I was not abusive. It was his determination, and and I was free to go back to my house. I did not. It was weeks before I did. But in the end, after I had waited as long as I thought was appropriate, I showed up one Sunday morning called the police and said, I don't want fusses, I don't want drama, but I do want to be able to live in my own house. Here's the judge's order. And the woman police officer said, this is a bad decision, you shouldn't do this. But in the end, it was one of the best things I could do, because I came into the house, and my wife, of course, was not pleased about this. But it ended up, I'll never forget, I was standing next to the kitchen sink, and at some point in the conversation, I said, if I didn't respect myself enough to live in my own house, then I couldn't love you the way I did. Somehow, I think that was a turning point both for my wife and myself. So that was the first thing. Second, boy, I'll tell you, something that made a huge difference for me. Now, I don't know, maybe this is only for men, but I tried to see the situation from my wife's perspective and write down, word processor, type down what she was going through and what she saw that the problems were from her perspective. It didn't mean I agreed with everything, but I tried to see what she saw that made her decide that she wanted a divorce. And we did come to the point that we were just saving up our money, trying to see if we could put it together for a divorce. It cost a little bit of money. I remember, obviously, because there was a restraining order in place, a protection order in place. I could not show that to her. And I put it aside, and about a year later or so, maybe longer, I pulled it out of a drawer and I showed it to her, and she said, oh, if I'd seen this at the time, it would have made a huge difference to me. But of course, I was not permitted to show it. Please, if you're under a restraining order, be stringent in your observance of that restraining order. Your life may be bad under a restraining order, but it can get a lot worse if you attempt to trample on that. So try to see it. Try to see what your spouse is seeing. And as I say, I don't know if it would work in the other direction between a wife and a husband, but it certainly was helpful for me to see, to try to understand how my wife was feeling. You have to listen. Oh my goodness, you have to listen. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you have to agree with everything your wife says, but you do have to hear it, and you have to show her that you hear it. My wife, I don't know about anybody else's, my wife really appreciates it when she says something and then I say, here's what I hear you saying. Did I hear you correctly? And I never word for word, but I repeat back in my own words what I think I hear her saying. And she will often say, you got it almost right, but here's a refinement, here's where you got it wrong. And she appreciates that. Now in the other direction, if she does that to me, and sometimes she does, and she says, here's what I hear you saying, drives me absolutely nuts. That is not beneficial for me. I always assume she knows what I'm saying better than I know what I'm saying, and she usually does. So, and I guess the third thing that was helpful to me is that I made a plan, an actual plan that I wrote down of, on this day I will send a card, on this day I will send a present, on this day I'll do this, on this day I'll do that. But I mean, I learned, I'm a big fan of Johnny Mathis, Stranger in Paradise, Misty, That's All. These are songs, I learned the words to them and I sang them to her. She really appreciated Stranger in Paradise, I recall. But they made a big difference to me when I would sing them to her. So they were helpful. They were helpful to me. Those are some things, and I hope you're not in the position of needing any of these for yourself.